Today, thank you. So let's start with a political row over this. A prayer session in Trafalgar Square on Monday. The event, attended by London Mayor Sir Sadiq Khan, was part of an open iftar event where Muslims were celebrating the breaking of their Ramadan fasts. But not everyone approved. The Conservative Shadow Justice Secretary tweeted this: "Too many are too polite to say this, but mass ritual prayer in public places is an act of domination. Perform these rituals in mosques if you wish, but they are not welcome in our public places and shared institutions." Well, those comments were criticised by the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, in Parliament on Wednesday. He accused the Conservatives of having a problem with Muslims. BBC London's political editor, Carl Mercer, put those criticisms to the Tory leader.
This is a Christian country that has tolerated minority faiths. I want it to be that way as long as possible. We believe in freedom of religion. This debate about that event is not about freedom of religion. It is about having segregated practices that exclude others and that are done in a way that cuts across British values.
Do you think Muslims should not have been allowed to pray? This
is not about Islam. It's not about any religion. It is about the manner of that specific event.
Well, the organisers of the event accused Kemi Badenoch of a gross misrepresentation, saying there were no restrictions on anyone in the square. To unpick this in a bit more detail, we're joined by Ajmal Masroor, an Imam and broadcaster from North London. Ajmal, welcome to you. Great to have you with us on the programme. Well, Nick Timothy says that mass ritual prayer in public places is an act of domination. What did you think when you heard those comments?
Pretty sad, actually, to hear Nick pick on the Muslims when this particular spot in London has been used by other faiths too. Jewish communities have done it many times. Hindus, Sikh, and people of faith and no faith consider this to be a central icon for people of London. And those of us who live in London, we consider we belong to London. And Nick's statement actually pushes us to feel that we're not welcome in London. But we're not going to take that, are we? We're going to say to Nick that his comments are very uneducated, smells of willful negligence or ignorance for that matter. And we pray, and today, I don't know whether you know, I have prayed on this weekend. We'll be praying throughout the weekend for Eid, celebrating our Eid celebration in every mosque. It's open. And finally, just to make it clear, our mosque in North London, we have the largest food bank in North London. 80% of our guests who come and take food from the mosque are non-Muslims. None of our mosques are closed. None of our services are closed. So Nick was talking actually rubbish, and it was a lie. Okay. Unfortunately, Islamophobia and racism is rampant within Tory party, so I don't expect anything different from Nick.
Ajmal, Nick Timothy said part of his problem was with the call to prayer, or adhan, which he says denies other religions and therefore should not be acceptable in a public place. Can you just explain what the call to prayer is, what it means, and if he's right?
Would you be calling for a ban for all the church bells because they're happening in public spaces? We're hearing them from our houses, etc. I would never invite or welcome such a statement from anybody. In fact, I wrote a piece not that long ago saying I miss the church bells. I used to hear them in the East End of London where I was growing up. So Nick is very uninformed, ill-educated, and sounds of bigotry. Let me explain adhan. Adhan is call to prayer. It simply says, come to pray, come for goodness, and come to do good. It's an invitation. It's a call open to everybody.
So Nick Timothy said that the adhan declares there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his messenger. So is that incorrect?
No, there is a declaration of faith, but that's a declaration of faith that Muslims believe in. There are people who don't believe in it. They're welcome. They're welcome to attend the mosque. Well, the mosques are never closed. If a statement of belief is to cause him trouble, that indicates on his part something seriously wrong. Maybe there is a bee under his bonnet and he needs to undo that and understand. Let's really ask Nick to do us a favor. He needs to smell the coffee, wake up and smell the coffee, as they say. And the reality is, if he smells the coffee, he would wake up and realize, actually, Muslims are the ones who introduced coffee to Europe. So it is ironic that he has forgotten Muslims and Islamic contribution to Renaissance and Industrial Revolution. In fact, if it wasn't for Ibn Rushd or Averroes translating the books of Plato and Aristotle from complex Greek into Latin, we won't have renaissance in our world. So
Ajmal,
Nick needs to be enlightened and educated.
Kemi Badenoch has defended her Shadow Justice Secretary, saying that she does believe in freedom of religion, but that this is about having segregated practices that exclude others. And she pointed to the footage that showed women and men praying separately. Can you understand her concern about that taking place in a public place?
No, because Jewish communities do the same. Each of the faith traditions, if we say religions have freedom, let them freely practice their faith.
In public places, other religions have practiced their faith in public places, separating men and women?
Yes, of course they have, and I've seen it with my own eyes. To suggest that a faith cannot practice its own faith in the choice of those people who are worshipping, in itself smacks of hypocrisy. If we have freedom, we allow freedom for people to do whatever they want, as long as it's within the law. So Nick is absolutely wrong. Kemi Badenoch is wrong. We should allow people, doesn't matter what faith they come from, if they subscribe to that faith, and that faith is calling for people to come together, pray together, be spiritual, be good, especially in the month of Ramadan. It's so sad that such people would be touting iftar parties for their votes, but then we would be calling for a ban for prayer. It's hypocrisy, it's unacceptable.
This issue is about praying in public, isn't it? The Conservative Party, they're not backing down on this. We've got the Deputy Leader of the London Assembly Conservatives here with us in the studio. What would you like to say to Emma?
I'd like to say to Emma that public prayer or private prayer is none of your business. Prayer is an individual choice, a group's choice, and they can pray wherever they want. If we say we're going to be banning public prayer, I would say that you will find a huge outcry from this community that would smack completely contrary to our freedom and democracy. And most importantly, what are people doing? They're praying, for God's sake.
Okay.
Why do people have such irritation and allergy to people praying?
Okay.
It's unacceptable. We need to stand together and say we will pray.
Let me put those thoughts.
Join in to pray.
Ajmal, thank you. Let me put those thoughts to Ajmal. You've been listening to all of that. You're an imam who represents a Muslim community here in London. What's your definition of British values?
British values is about acceptance of our differences and diversity, living together in harmony and peace. Everyone is welcome to come to my mosque anytime they want, as long as we have the resources to be able to cater for them. We'll feed them, we'll look after them. That's British value. British value is for me to care for my neighbour. Islamic value and British value. British value is democracy. British value is freedom. I don't subscribe to the new found British value of the Conservative Party. That smells of Islamophobia and racism. In fact, is riddled with it.
Okay.
We've had the former chairperson of Conservative Party condemn it. We've had many awful episodes of Islamophobia, racism within the Tory party. They have not dealt with it, and it's very sad. This infestation, unless this is dealt with adequately, Muslims won't be voting for the Tories. In fact, I'll be campaigning from the street telling people don't vote for the Tories because they're racist and they're Islamophobic.
Okay. And you stand as an independent candidate as well, don't you? Just to make that clear to our viewers.
A long time ago, in the last general election.
So who will you be voting for, just very briefly?
Me?
Yes.
I'll be voting for somebody who actually stands and represents my value and is independent enough to stand up
and
for...
And who is that person at the moment, or party?
At the moment, I don't know. None of the parties represent any of mine.
No, because we are out of time. Ajmal, thank you very much for joining us on this. And it is, as we sit here recording on Friday afternoon, the last day of Ramadan. So we thank you for joining us as you celebrate Eid. Thank you. Next,